Hey guys, welcome. Last week we talked about something called operationalizing an agile mindset. I sort of talked about this concept of an iceberg. I've had a quick glance at this slide here. This basically shows what we talked about. Skill set, tool set, above the surface, very easy to see, very easy to implement. Below the surface, very hard to see, very hard to implement, purely because it involves the most complex thing in your organization, which is your people. Today, however, I want to step forward a little bit more. I started at the end of last video talking about leadership. One of the key things about leadership is living your values. And that's something that us leaders tend to have really a lot of trouble with, mostly because we have a past. Leaders have a past, people have a past. And back in the 80s, 70s, 90s to a certain extent, even slightly in the 2000s in some industries, we as leaders were seen as the people that had to sort of wear the suit of armor, right? Nothing could touch us. We were the ones that were going to walk through fire for this organization to make things happen. That today doesn't translate anymore, guys. Whether you're talking about millennial right back down to whatever it is before then, people have sort of changed their perspective on leadership. Leadership is now a little bit more humane. It's a little bit more, relatable. Leaders are now asked to do things that are not just, like gladiators. That analogy has now disappeared. Now showing a little bit of realness, maybe even some sort of weakness, is seen as a good thing. And the key thing here is that idea of knowing yourself, right? I think it came from Daniel Goleman in the 90s. He talked about that was Collins. He talked about emotional intelligence being the pinnacle of the highest level of leadership. And self-awareness is the biggest part of emotional intelligence. So until you know yourself as a leader, how do you expect to know your team and to lead your team? Because leadership doesn't stop when you walk out of the office, right? Whether you're at home, whether you're having a barbecue, whether you're on the ski slopes, wherever you are, you're still a leader, you're still yourself. And that part of the world has now, let me start again. The parts of the world, the industrial part of the world has now changed to understand that. And we now are in a place that we sort of go, okay, well, we don't just understand that people are still people regardless of whether they have a suit on, whether they have a ski mask on, whether they're surfing with board shorts on. We want them to be the same person. And I guess the internet, to a certain extent, the idea of sharing or maybe oversharing sort of has brought that into light. You can't compartmentalize your life anymore like you used to be able to before. Now it's all about being congruent with your own values. And if part of those values align with agile values, you're on a winner, right? So really, when it comes to operationalizing mindset, note the air quotes, please, the best place to start is with yourself, right? And it's also one of the things that you might find us practitioners of Agile, if you will, consultants, dirty word, we always talk about how we need full leadership support when it comes to Agile. And that's basically what we're talking about. We're not talking about allocating budgets or hiring a whole bunch of smart people. Yes, that's good. I'm not saying that's unimportant, but what I'm saying is that until you have a leader that understands why there needs to be an agile transformation, there's no point doing one. It's that simple. All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Next week, we'll sort of continue down the leadership path and maybe into more of a mindset for your teams. Cheers.